Hey guys. Okay, so for our Critical Cafe, I'm taking on the role of media moose as we talk about intimate spaces and public places of discrimination in the sex. So the article that I chose to focus on is a CBC News article called Why a Women-Only Spa in Toronto Should Not Change Its Policy to Accept Trans Women. So here's a link if you want to access it. But the spa that we're specifically focusing on today is Body Blitz Spa in Toronto, which is an intimate space but also a public space. And they're getting heat for not accepting trans women into a women-only spa. So they're being accused of being transphobic or transphobia from trans activists online and in the media because they did refuse service to a self-identified trans woman. And the reason for that is because since it is a women's only spa, they feel that their clients, as well as the people, their staff, do not particularly feel comfortable allowing a self-identified female that has male genitalia to walk nude amongst other women in a women-only spa. They feel that that will make the women that come there specifically because it's a women-only spa very uncomfortable. And because of this, they're getting so much heat also because of this new bill, so Bill C-16 that has been passed, which amends Canadian Human Rights Act and the Criminal Code to prohibit discrimination based on gender expression and identity. So trans people absolutely deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. But as many feminist and women's groups have argued, Bill C-16 has a capacity to actually undermine women's rights. So the whole idea is the Canadian Human Rights Act protects women because as a society we understand that women face discrimination based on their biological sex. And so women's liberation and to maintain women-only space is being threatened by this legislation that protects people based on gender identity and gender expression. So how can we argue for women's rights based on the understanding that women are oppressed specifically due to their biological sex? If we continue to say that sex doesn't matter, but that gender identity and expression do. So that's basically the controversy and the problem that's going on in the media right now. And there's been tons and tons of negative comments and positive comments on Facebook that I'm going to share with you guys today. And we're going to kind of discuss that today. But I also want to note on the fact that Body Blitz has a policy that says that they are a spa specifically for a single sex, which is women. So I kind of want to leave that there for you to think about as we continue with our discussion. So, public opinion on social media. So again, there's various controversial comments on Facebook and other social media sites like Twitter that have been posted surrounding this topic. I'm going to specifically focus on the Facebook comments because I've posted those ones. And there are tons of Twitter ones. You can go through the tweets if you want to on your own time, but we're going to focus on Facebook today. Okay, so to begin, here's one of them. I know you can't read the image, so I posted it as a little quotation on the side. So I'll read it out for you. I know many women have been silenced on this issue, and I have decided to be silent no more. I am not any type of human phobic. I don't want men in my spa. I don't care if they feel like women or identify as women. They are men. So that's one of the comments. The second comment is, I disagree. If I was a person sitting in an all-female spa, I don't know the history or story of the person who walks in showing his junk. A person may mentally think of themselves as female, but the physical is saying something else, just the way I would assume someone wearing glasses is short-sighted. So, something to think about, because you can see both sides, and we try to be accepting, and we try to treat people equally, but you also have to keep in mind that sometimes it is difficult because it's not that you do not accept that individual as is, but in certain facilities and certain intimate spaces, that may not be the case, that you probably won't be able to accept them as you probably would in a more public setting that doesn't have such a policy that is made specifically for one type of sex. And continue. So some other comments. If a women's spa only, if it's a women's only spa, then that's it. Nothing to do with discrimination. Sometimes men and women do not have to mix, period. If you don't like it, F off. Another comment. Okay, I'm all for be who you want to be, love who you want to love, dress however you want, but I think social media and all these spiteful people just looking for reasons to cause other people pain. Who cares if it's a women's only spa? Why can't women have a spa? And another comment. Some women have legit phobias of male genitalia because of traumas. They shouldn't be taken by surprise at a supposedly female spa or a change room or anywhere else we are new together. As someone who is becoming a woman, she should be sensitive to the situation. So I kind of want to focus on this specific quote a little bit. The article also talks about how certain women have certain traumas and some have been sexually abused or have been raped or any situation of sort. And in those situations, when it is a facility that is specifically for women, allowing trans individuals, self-identified trans individuals into facilities like this might kind of might add kind of a shock to these women, or it might kind of catch people off guard. So again, since it is a business, you have to keep in mind that what you advertise, you have to kind of follow through. So if you advertise this as a women's only spa, allowing trans women might catch someone off guard. So again, keep that in mind as we continue. And the last set of comments that I want to focus on is these ones. Okay, so trans women are women. It's a women's spa, therefore shut the hell up. Women, most of us anyway, are not threatened by the sight of male junk, but by the assertion of dominance and power that comes with machismo. There is nothing macho about genitals, so this fear and discomfort is a projection of transphobia. So again, that's another opinion, another opposing opinion, but again, I can see some strong points in these statements as well as some strong points in the previous statements. Me personally, I see both sides and I can relate to both sides and I can understand both sides, but kind of finding a grounds to whether this is discrimination or not is where I personally am having a challenge. And when we get to our discussion questions, I kind of want to hear what your opinions on that as well is, because when I was reading this, I was beyond confused on what side do you take? Do you have to take the side? Maybe there is no right or wrong side. So what do you do then? And last comment. How do we define between a trans who is a man, who identifies as a woman, and a pervert who uses this as an opportunity to be able again access to areas they would under ordinary circumstances never have? So this, to me personally, this kind of seems like a bit of an extreme. Just because, yes, you don't know how people are nowadays and what the world around us is like, but this situation may or may not be true. I don't really know about that. Just something to keep in mind. But yeah, the likelihood of someone kind of being or acting as trans just to kind of be a pervert and be in a woman's only spa, I can kind of see it happening, but I haven't really heard of it happening, so I can't really give much feedback on that, or don't have much to say about this. So we're going to move on to our discussion questions. So I just kind of want to hear your opinions. Again, I'm not there, so this doesn't really help. but I will be there either through phone or Skype call or something. So hopefully these discussion questions help. But I'm putting this as a screencast so you kind of have a background as I ask you these questions. So yeah, to begin, the first one. By supporting the inclusion of trans women into the spa, we are violating women's human rights. So where do we draw the line for what constitutes as discrimination? So again, something to think about, like, I'm personally confused on where do we draw the line? Like, what do we consider, or what do you include and what do you not? And who do you include and who do you not include? If it's a women's only spa, does that mean it's only for women? What do you do if you have a trans woman in the situation we're in right now? Should they just go to spas that are mixed, or should they pursue this kind of argument on having the spa change their policy? Another question I want to ask you guys is, do people have the right to exclude each other from a group based on some self-defined group identity? So again, something to think about. Everyone has a certain identity or group identity, gender expression. And is it fair to actually exclude each other? And to what extent do you exclude each other? So something to think about. Kind of want to hear what your opinions are on that. Because it's not just not a spa. There are many situations where it might be a woman's only gym, or it might be a certain time. So for example, it might be a woman's only yoga class. Things like that. Are you excluding people that are trans? Are you excluding people that, like, are you excluding men that want to attend that yoga class at that time? Some things to think about. Next question. Can you argue the opposite of both cases? Both cases? And can a free society that has its core values similar to our Charter of Rights and Freedoms reconcile these issues? So, if we lived in a free society and we were accepting and, if we accepted all of this, is it possible that we wouldn't have these issues? Or would these issues kind of be worse? What are your thoughts on it? Personally, again, I'm still confused. Even for me personally, even if we lived in a free society, I still think we would have these issues. It might not be these specific ones, but it'll be another situation. It doesn't have to be specifically an intimate space, even though we're addressing an intimate space, even in certain public spaces, these issues could arise. So what do? When you're looking at a campus, university campus, certain spaces are safe spaces. But if an individual comes, or a group of individuals come that don't accept that safe space and make people feel uncomfortable, what do you do in that situation? But let's say that they are identified as trans or gay or etc. What do you do in that situation? Those spaces are made for them, but they are causing these issues. Like, that's what I'm trying to get at, where this is a controversial issue and there are like multiple situations that this could be an issue or this could be resolved. You never know. For me personally, the only opinion I could kind of give is, if I am going into a women's only spa, personally I would accept, like, I would only want women there. Because what you kind of have to think about is putting all of this aside and putting the human rights aside, and like whether they're gay, straight, trans, women, man, whatever it may be, doesn't everyone have a right to comfort if they're choosing to pay for it? So if I'm choosing to go to the spa, I'm paying for comfort, and if my comfort level is with a women's only spa, I only want to see women there, especially if I'm being nude or getting naked in front of them. I'm not comfortable being naked in a room that also has male genitalia. That's just my opinion. But again, if I'm paying for comfort, don't I have the right to comfort without any of